Show. YouTube Cole Spivey. Yeah, man.
What's funny about this? It's actually a hidden Mickey right here.
Finger kissing appendix. That's what you like to try.
Well, this one's going all the way out to Rome. I think Refn is a really good director. He did Drive with Ryan Gosling and Carey, and I think it was good. It had a good message too. So the evil villain and that character, or the evil villain in Drive, just by Refn, is the Jewish mafia guy who feels that all the money belongs to him. And guess what? At the end, the protagonist, who is played by Ryan Gosling, he leaves a big bag of money right there next to him, right next to his dead body. And then he runs off with the beautiful woman. I think it says a lot about Christianity. It's a good film, and about the church, about what the man will do for the woman of the church. Ephesians. It's kind of the heart and theme of Drive. It's a very, very good film, and very important to know. Just leave them there. A big bag of money. Drive is kind of the new version of Taxi Driver. What's interesting about Taxi Driver, though, is Albert is in it. And it's amazing because he plays one of those politician guys. And Travis Bickle goes in and kind of confronts him. But in Drive, he plays just this disgusting Jewish mafia guy. And what's cool in Drive 2 is, I guess you could compare him to maybe Shakespeare's Shylock, you know? But he loses and dies hard in the end because he goes against love, right? And so the protagonist, who's played by Ryan Gosling, leaves the money and runs with the lady. But he leaves it where it belongs. He leaves it next to evil, which is dead, like a snake on the side of the road. So Ryan Gosling's character doesn't actually have a name, but he's known as the driver, or just Driver. And Carey's in it too. And Albert Brooks, who is in Taxi Driver, because Drive is kind of another version of Taxi Driver. Albert Brooks plays the evil Jewish guy, kind of like Shylock. He's basically part of the Jewish mafia, and that's Albert Brooks. Pretty good performance by him. Well, you know what's weird is one of my friends who saw Taxi Driver, he always thought, well, what about if Albert Brooks played Travis Bickle? We all kind of laughed. But, you know, it's really weird because Albert Brooks, he does play this evil character who's very evil, very well. It's pretty spooky. It's kind of got kind of a bad Breaking Bad kind of feel to it a little bit, but it's done in a very stylish way, cinematic, just like Taxi Driver. But Refn, who is a great, crazy director, did a really good job putting that piece together, and it's probably the best film since Taxi Driver. Definitely top 10 best film of all time. This is like a fire station. Oh, this is actually a fire station. This is where it's going. Pretty crazy. I mean, I can't park there. God, there's really nowhere. Maybe right here. Just temporarily. Oh. Well, Drive is good because of multiple reasons, and the level of performance is far higher than most all the films that was done, especially by Ryan Gosling. Why he wasn't nominated, don't understand. We should have been nominated for that one, but it got kind of underrated. It's kind of cool how the ending scene, he takes the mask that's molded in Tom Cruise's face, and he uses the mask to disguise himself. It makes a lot of points, kind of about Hollywood, the fear of the character like Shylock. And not only that, but it makes a lot of points about sometimes anger and love, passion, what the man will do. And what's interesting is Driver, it's Ryan Gosling plays a stunt driver. He's not really helping Carey Mulligan's character just completely out of just romance, but it's almost kind of a protection in a deeper way, you know, almost spiritual protection in a way. He has to do a lot to make sure that she's okay. But she's a single mom who loses her husband throughout the production because her husband is killed off by a bunch of scumbags, or at least beat up. I don't know if he's killed off. He's beat up. I don't really remember. I think he is killed off, but that actor is getting a lot of work too. It really is a good film. Ultimately, it's a lot of people that I know, it's one of their favorite films. But it's also what's cool about music and cinema, especially like Taxi Driver and movies like Drive. Taxi Driver, with Martin Scorsese, used more of like, I'm not going to say completely jazz, but he used Bernard Herrmann's score to represent the feelings of Travis Bickle and what it was like to be inside of a cab, long hours, and be on his own. Well, in Drive, he goes back to kind of, I guess, Refn, who is directed by Refn, goes back to score the film using modern music, or I wouldn't say it's rave music, but it's music that's based on the feel of like Los Angeles, like how Los Angeles would feel, especially Hollywood. And so you're feeling the high of Los Angeles City in the music, by these two well-known kind of rave musicians, you know, like upbeat, kind of almost dance music in a way, club music, you could say, going back on 114 right here. And so you have that feel of Los Angeles. It's a really cool soundtrack. I'm actually going to put it on in a minute. And it's got a kind of a feel, what you'd listen to while you're in the car and driving. But there's shots of the watch on the steering wheel. He uses one of those old wind-up watches that you wind it up, so I guess it wouldn't fail. And the opening scene, he drives, I guess, these underground dark criminals from a robbery to a safe place in the middle of Los Angeles during a basketball game. I think it's a basketball game. And yeah, it's a basketball game. And he just becomes completely camouflaged by people. And he's got one of the most common cars. Now, the guy in Breaking Bad, who Charlie Baker worked with, is in it. Basically, the Breaking Bad guy. You know, he plays the chemistry teacher, the Breaking Bad guy. I get his name later. But anyway, he's in it, and he plays the mechanic who gets killed by the Shylock kind of character who Albert Brooks plays. Pretty cool. I'm going to go ahead and get you the list of characters and names, so that way you're educated on, you know, Ryan Gosling playing Driver, Carey Mulligan playing the love interest, Albert Brooks playing the evil Shylock Jew, and the Breaking Bad teacher, that's a chemistry teacher in Breaking Bad. You know his name. He plays the mechanic. So Ryan Gosling actually plays Driver. Carey Mulligan plays the love interest. Albert Brooks plays a character called Bernie Rose. He's the head of the Jewish mafia. I think it's a Jewish mafia. I thought it was. I could be wrong. I have to go back and watch it. I thought it was a Jewish mafia. There's an Italian guy in the scene. He acted like Jewish mafia. I don't know. I have to find out. Because I always saw him as kind of like Shylock. Plays a guy in the mafia. He gets killed in the end by the driver, which is Ryan Gosling. Ryan Gosling's job is to make sure that Carey Mulligan gets out of this bad situation that she's in, that's wrapped up in this underworld. And her husband, who's played by Isaac, gets, basically, he gets knocked off, kind of. Or I don't really know. I have to go back and watch. I know he gets beat up. But he has to protect her because the husband's pretty much out of commission. And his husband's just been released from prison. And he goes back and tries to form a relationship with his wife, but it doesn't work out. So she kind of in a way runs off with Driver, who is Ryan Gosling, who is basically just kind of like her bodyguard in a way, and getting her out of all this situation that's tied up in a big money heist thing. And the Jewish guy, I'm thinking he's a Jewish guy, played by Albert Brooks, obviously, he wants the money back because there's a heist that Driver, who's Ryan Gosling, gets caught up in, and he ends up giving the money back to Albert Brooks after he kills him, because they get in a fight over it. So he kills him and leaves him by the side of the road with the bag of money. He leaves the money right by him, and then goes off pretty much to take care of Carey Mulligan's character. So Bernie Rose dies, and the driver and the love interest gets away, just like it should be. It's kind of Shakespearean, but not really. It's kind of an action film. You got to see it. It's action all along the way. Lots of action. I think even Lynch would like this type of high cinema, kind of controlled movie. It's very controlled. Every shot is controlled. Timed to the music very well. So, boil down to cast. You got Ryan Gosling as Driver. Carey Mulligan is the love interest. Albert Brooks is Bernie Rose. Oscar Isaac is Standard. He's the one that played her husband that gets beat up by this kind of like mafia kind of thing. And are these mean people, these aggressive, mean people that want to hurt other people, And Driver is basically trying his best to protect her. He has to a certain extent. He has to do quite a bit to protect her and go through quite a bit. A lot of driving. He's basically like a professional driver. And he shows his skill too. And I think it's for so far, I think it's Ryan Gosling's best film by far. His best acting and best film. I'm trying to get everybody. There is a reference to Taxi Driver when you look at Refn's Drive, which is Winding Refn. And that's his middle name, Refn. But regardless, it's his name, Refn. I pronounce it Refn, but anyway. Carey Mulligan plays Irene, and there's a character named Iris in Taxi Driver who Jodie Foster plays when she was 12 years old. And she was opposite of Harvey Keitel in Taxi Driver, who played Sport. But Irene sounds a little like Iris. I think there's a connection between Drive and Taxi Driver. They're a little kind of. And once we take a break, I don't know if you can see it right here. But why coffee? I don't know. But anyway, I just think there's a connection, because the reason I think it's mostly a connection is because music drives the film along on both Taxi Driver and on Drive. They both are driven by music. Just like a lot of Lynch films are driven by music. Music is part of what drives it to this next and ultimate level. So music is a background piece that has to be part of the film. So when you watch Taxi Driver, you know the music. When you watch Drive, you know the music of the film. And the film has a music quality to the way the camera moves, the way the actors are. Everything is timed to the music to a perfect degree. It's a good film. Very is 10 stars on both films, Taxi Driver and Drive. But they're both a little bit similar in certain ways. You do have a Shylock kind of character. You have Albert Brooks playing that kind of character, the political character in a way, and then he's playing a more mean version of it in Drive, because he's very cruel and evil. You know, it's like you don't see evil like that on screen very often. And the way Albert Brooks does it, it deserved a nomination. Everything about that film deserved best film, best actors, best writing, everything about it. But Refn, you know, he's kind of an outsider a little bit. You know, he does real serious, kind of violent, and also very realistic, but yet flowing in a cinematic quality films. Very masterful director.